Hello everyone. In this video, we will discuss the term Poetic Diction. Introduction. Poetic diction is a crucial aspect of literary composition that encompasses the types of words, phrases, sentence structures, and figurative language employed in a work of literature, particularly in poetry. The concept of poetic diction has evolved over time, with different periods and poets adopting distinct styles to create their artistic masterpieces. This video delves into the historical development of poetic diction, its characteristics during the 18th century, and the revolutionary ideas presented by William Wordsworth to challenge the prevailing neoclassic norms. Historical development of poetic diction. Throughout the ages, poets have utilized a unique language known as poetic diction, which deviates from the ordinary discourse of their time. This distinct vocabulary, phrasing, and figurative language have been prevalent in the works of poets like Edmund Spenser in the Elizabethan Age and Gerald Manley Hopkins in the Victorian Age. Such poetic diction aims to evoke emotions, create vivid imagery, and set the tone for the overall message of the poem. Neoclassic poetic diction in the 18th century. In the 18th century, a specific poetic diction emerged among neoclassic writers. These poets, including Thomas Gray, adhered to the belief that the language of the age is never the language of poetry. This formal and elevated poetic diction was often derived from the works of esteemed poets like Virgil, Edmund Spenser, and John Milton. The neoclassic poets adhered to the principle of decorum, wherein the diction's level and type were adjusted to suit the genre's mode and status. Some prominent characteristics of 18th century poetic diction include archaism and recurrent epithets, preference for Latin-derived resounding words, invocations and personifications of abstractions and inanimate objects, and the use of periphrases to replace what were considered low or commonplace terms. Periphrases, a stylistic device widely employed, allowed poets to describe everyday objects or actions in a more elevated and dignified manner. Wordsworth's critique and rise of natural expression. William Wordsworth, a leading figure in the Romantic movement, challenged the prevailing neoclassic poetic diction in his preface of 1800 to Lyrical Ballads. He criticized the artificial and unnatural language used by the 18th century poets and advocated for a more spontaneous and natural expression of powerful feelings. Wordsworth emphasized that there should be no essential difference between the language of prose and metrical composition. For Wordsworth, poetic diction should be a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, and it should not be contrived product of artificial language. He broke the barriers of linguistic decorum by asserting that the language of humble and rustic life could be just as effective, if not more so, in expressing genuine emotions. Wordsworth's approach aimed to bridge the gap between the common people and the literary elite, making poetry accessible and relatable to all. Conclusion. Poetic diction has undergone significant transformations over the centuries, reflecting the changing cultural, societal, and artistic sensibilities of each era. From the distinctive language used by poets of various ages to the rigid neoclassic poetic diction and its eventual rejection by the Romantics, poetic diction continues to shape the essence of poetic expression. Through the exploration of poetic diction, we gain insight into the minds and hearts of the poets, their creative choices, and their desires to leave a lasting impact on readers through the power of language. As poetry continues to evolve, poetic diction will remain a fundamental element that intertwines with the poet's voice, style, and vision, ultimately giving life to their poetic creations. So this was the discussion on the term poetic diction. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other term. Until then, goodbye and thank you. Hello everyone, welcome to this series on literary terms and literary theory. If you want to study the notes and MCQs related to this term, you can click the link given in the description. We are also going to start our online and offline classes for UGC NET for English literature very soon. So stay connected with us.